Praise the Darkness Jerky.
Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again, introducing you the Darkness 2 Dawn difficulty video walkthrough. This is the second section to chapter 4, and it is the boss fight with SWIFTY. So the premise of this boss fight is he's going to attack you with the crane, and then your little Darkness buddy is going to bring you some explosive propane tanks that you have to throw at the crane. Every time you throw them, it'll do some damage to the crane, and it will make him spawn a couple bad guys that will attack you. The best way I found to avoid the crane, aside from using some of the pillars when they're intact to block its hit, is to crouch. When you crouch down, he has a big time trouble hitting you with the crane, and it makes it a lot easier. And the swifter you can hit this guy with the explosives, and you can kill the enemies around you so they don't do any damage, the faster the boss fight will be. But a couple things to bear in mind. Sometimes the hit detection on the crane is a pain in the arse. When I was recording this, I had to restart the checkpoint because the crane was invulnerable. I hit it with 3 of the propane tanks and it just completely did nothing, and I didn't know why. But the enemies are going to be dropping from both the sides. If you can pick up the rebar and hit them early, you will be able to kill them pretty quickly and not have too much of an issue. There's ammo scattered around the environment to help you clear the dudes and focus on getting the propane tanks. You can do it however you want to, it's entirely up to you. There's car doors and all sorts of stuff. One thing I will say is, behind me to my right, there is a pile of bricks that I'm going to be using later on. And if you ever get in a spot of bother, go behind those. Not only will they cover you from the fire of the enemies and force the enemies to come to you, but the crane doesn't seem to be able to hit you when you're there. And all you can do, if you just want to cheese the fight completely, is stay behind those bricks, wait for the Darkness to bring you the propane tanks and throw them, go and hide, kill the dudes, and repeat until he's dead. And you're going to see me utilise this technique in a moment, but I'm still being pretty brave and eating hearts and everything. But just remember to crouch. This is the pile of bricks I mentioned. If you sit behind these, when the enemies drop down, they will only come from your left. They'll rush all the way around the left. The only people that come from the right are the people with the melee weapons, so just bear that in mind. And with patience and practice, you should be able to do this boss pretty easily. But when I first played the game, this guy did beat me because I was getting clusterfucked by all the guys, and it just didn't make any sense. I wasn't too sure what I was supposed to be doing, and it kind of sucked. But this spot really helps if you're struggling, if you're losing life and that, and you want to play a bit more defensively. But yeah, the propane tanks don't do as much damage as you'd think they would. You think it'd be kind of like rule of 3, where you hit him 3 times and you win, just like, you know, Mario and every other game that's ever existed ever. But Darkness plays this a little bit differently, and the bosses suck, they really do. They could have been so much more imaginative, but it generally just resorts to you shooting them a lot and hoping that they die before you die, and I just don't like bosses like that. But there's the last one. The crane goes down. If there's any enemies left over, you will have to kill them. But as soon as the crane dies, there is a checkpoint, so if you get taken out, he will load you after the fight. And yeah, job's a good one, pretty much. So clear up the dudes, eat the hearts, get the ammo, and then you can climb up the body of the crane that just fell into this area to progress to the next part of this chapter. And this is probably one of the longest chapters in the game early on. There's a couple coming up that are longer, and there's 2 levels that I would say are probably the hardest in the game with the harder encounters, but I've got some pretty good strategies for them and some decent advice to get you through them if you're struggling. But in all honesty, this is a pretty easy game if you play it correctly. And I'll keep saying this because if you don't play it right, you'll get your ass kicked. And that is not me saying that this is the only way you can play it, because there are plenty of ways to play this game, but you've got to at least approach it intelligently, because if you just rush in like an idiot thinking you can double gun everything, it doesn't work, unfortunately. And you'll have to play on an early difficulty to get that rush. But thanks for watching, guys, and you take care now.